Tell me what you do when you're with your family to practice self-control. Because when we're with our families, we get triggered so quickly. In fact, I have to share with you this card um, that I found. I want to tell you what it says because I think it's really both sad and funny. And the card says, parents know how to push your buttons because, hey, they sewed them on. And I love that. Parents know how to push your buttons because, hey, they sewed them on. I definitely sewed on my children's, and my parents sewed them on for me. And this is very frustrating for all of us because we don't want to have our buttons pushed, with a family. We all have the Hollywood ideal of that happy family together around the table. Sorry, my heater was working. Around the table, laughing and eating, and then watching a movie with popcorn. That's kind of what we do in our culture. We think about that. But in reality, family get-togethers are often really challenging and difficult. So let's see. Aziza says, thank you. I have all the info. It's the starting and collating them on the CV that's hard. Struggle to be concise and perfectionistic, avoidance and fatigue. Aziza, I hear you. What I would suggest is doing something first where you just add all the information, put it aside. Then the next day you can come back and edit some of that information, put it aside. Then the next day, something else. So you do one task at a time and maybe sit down while we're here now and we could brainstorm if you want, like how to divide up those tasks so you're not overwhelming yourself. Aguilar says, prayer helps me a lot. Prayer is wonderful. Aziza, that's such a profound quote. I know, like we could unpack this, for the whole hour. My parents sewed my buttons on. That's why they can push them. Sometimes I feel like kids also can push our buttons. They may have done a Velcro with a button or stuck a sticker on, but they've also figured out how to push our buttons. So it goes both ways. Chuck, break core, music genre, meditation, stepping outside. I love that. That's fantastic. Maybe put a playlist on your phone. I have, one of like, I call, happy songs. I have some anger. I have an anger playlist. I have a workout playlist. And depending where I am, I go to that playlist. You're welcome, Aziza. So let's continue to think about, we have some suggestions. What will you do when you're activated? Some of you will pray. Some of you will step outside. Some of you will dance in the bathroom by yourself to your favorite song. You have some tools, a strategy. I don't think it makes sense to go into any family gathering without that strategy. It's too hard. It's too stressful and hard. And I think a lot of us go into these family gatherings with hope. Oh, it's going to be different this time. I just know it. But maybe it's not. Those patterns repeat themselves. They're unconscious and they're very powerful. And sometimes they're conscious and they're powerful. So we want to make sure that we're armed with the tools in our toolbox that we need to make it through. So when we leave, we're not in a sort of despairing and depressing spiral. Hi, Nikki. So what's the second C? The second C is compassion. And this includes self-compassion, okay? We are all doing the best we can with the resources we have available to us at any time. That includes how our parents were with us and how we were with our kids. And I'll tell you honestly, that's what I struggle with. Like, I can't believe after years of training and in graduate school and internships and being a therapist that I made some crappy mistakes with my kids. It's hard to practice that forgiveness and to realize that that was just the resources I had in those moments. And that's true for our parents as well, and it's true for our kids. So we want to have compassion with ourselves. with ourselves, and to remember that when there's more stress, we have less access to our resources because the adrenaline in our brain pushes away our coping strategies. We can't access them. So we also want to recognize that holidays can bring on excitement and stress and anxiety. And all of these, the anxiety and the excitement and the stress, they actually work in the same kinds of patterns in our brains and bodies. And so it's helpful for us to notice that excitement and anxiety, or excitement and stress, are really related in how we process them physiologically. So this is why it's important to treat some of the nervousness that we may have or that anxiety and ask ourselves, instead of like, ugh, I'm so worried about this, or could we say, I wonder about, or I'm excited about, and I'm nervous at the same time. Just that little shift in language can alter your focus as well. Luciana says, but how to get them to understand your need in the moment and not be rude? That's a great question. I'd love to hear what you would say. And that's kind of where I'm going in the next thing. We want to collaborate with our partners, with our children, on what to say in stressful moments so we can take a break that's not an angry, I have to get out of here, or you're driving me crazy. What we want to be able to say is, wow, you know what? I think I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm going to take a little break. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Or my bucket's kind of full. I need some space to just bring it down. I'll be back. So we want to be able to say things that aren't about other people, but that are about our needs without being too vulnerable or exposing ourselves to criticism. Now, if you say, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, I just need to take a pause, I'll be back, the response you might get would be, why are you overwhelmed? What's wrong with you? There's nothing overwhelming here. Your job is not to take the bait. Your job is to say, I'm going to do what I need to take care of myself, and I'll see you soon. Don't get into it with them. Don't say, oh, gee, I wish you could understand me better, or I'm different than you are. Don't you get that? Just say, I'm going to do what I need to take care of myself. Draw the boundary and leave. The aggravation of the expectation that somehow they're going to get it. They're going to wake up and they're going to see, wow, I understand my child at this point, and I'm doing something that's really not working, is not a realistic expectation, particularly around the holidays. It can be a hope that you have, it can be a longing that you have, but it's probably not something that's going to emerge during the holidays, because everybody brings all this baggage to the holiday and it's fully loaded. So come up with a couple phrases, and I'd love you to put in the chat right now what some of the phrases might be for you to say in the moment when you need to take a little bit of space. What could you say that wouldn't be rude, but that would be clear? Alethea says, I try to see how it feels from the other person's viewpoint, and it can be a real eye-opener. I agree. Angela says, I wish I'd had these tips during Thanksgiving. Glad to have them now. So happy that you're here and you can use them. So the third C is collaboration. So this is collaboration with your kids, collaboration with your partner, and if I dare say, collaboration with yourself. So let's start with how we're going to work with kids during the holidays. We want to give warnings for transitions, reminders about plans and tools for conversations with relatives. Talk with your kids about their nervousness and brainstorm some solutions to what to do when they feel that way, how to act, and some words. They need coaching on social behaviors. What do they say if they don't like the food that's being served, or the present that someone gives them? Or how do they respond when, Uncle Joe wants to give them a hug and they don't even know Uncle Joe? Or if somebody pinches their cheek and says, "Oh, look how grown up you are." Or if they're identifying as they and people keep calling them by she or he, the frustration of that. So we want to sort of explore and plan for these misconnections so that when they happen, your child has something to say, or you can look at them and whisper, blah, 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 remember we said this, or send them a text or something like that. So we also want to help them understand, rather than just like get up when they're done eating, to say, can I be excused? Something basic that elderly relatives might really appreciate. You want to prepare your innermost relative circle, your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your siblings, about some of the challenges that your child is facing without going into too much detail, just so that there's more understanding and compassion for them. You want to, so that instead of expecting X, Y, and Z, they understand that, oh, you know what? This is a challenge right now, so we're going to let this slide, but we're going to focus on this thing. Help them understand how to engage successfully with your child or teen, and so that they can try to connect with them on a level. Maybe let them know about a game they're interested in or an activity that they're doing, rather than having them, ask a lot of broad questions or questions that your kids can't actually answer. The fourth C is consistency. We want to figure out some type of daily routine for you to have during the holiday about your own screen limits and those for your kids. And you want to do that now before the holiday insanity gets even more intense. So decide how much screen, what types of screen each day, and if there's an exception, what does that look like? Have a conversation with your family. I want to go back to the collaboration thing because I also think it's important to talk to a partner if you have one. What do you think you might need in terms of support from your partner in this time when you're gathered as a larger family? What would your partner like as support from you? Taking the time now to strategize and talk about some of the issues will help you later when you're in the thick of it. Because I think we all kind of hope that we're going to get into something and it's somehow miraculously going to be better this time, without actually doing the legwork to make it better. So I encourage you to do that legwork.